Going on? It's your man, Tony Cintron, Chief Experience Officer at DeVito Verdi. We're a full-service advertising and marketing agency, and we are here to get into episode number 3 of the GenGumptious podcast. And for those that may not know, GenGumptious, it's all about generation behavior. We try to highlight the new generation consumer and how they see corporate brands as well as the environment that they live in. We think of user experiences, creativity, as it pertains to advertising and marketing. And so in this episode, number 3, I interview my boy, Amir, the creative of the Everyman Project. He is also a photographer who has worked with Teen Vogue and GQ France and has an album actually that he recently dropped, which is called The Three of Swords, this past April. Check it out. Enjoy.
We are recording.
That took a while.
We here. We figured it out. We figured out the code.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm so happy that we're doing this now.
I'm excited.
When we first met, I thought you were so charismatic and so interesting and so creative. And then recently, I saw some work that you posted on Facebook, and I was just like, wow, it's stunning.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful. The blues, just like this fantasy vibe of the composition. I mean, I'm just going to go off the beaten path just really quickly.
Okay.
I want you to introduce yourself, but before you do that, since we're talking about it, what is the process that you take to create that imagery? Like, what are you thinking? What is the concept behind them?
So I think the image you're referring to were some pieces that I made on Midjourney.
Okay.
Yeah, and I am new-ish in the AI space, and I started learning it out of necessity of creating visuals for music stuff, because I do music too. And the really dope thing about Midjourney is it's allowed me to really just unlock different parts of my imagination and getting really, really wacky with the prompts. You know what I mean? Because when you do really cool prompts, you can really create some next level stuff. And like for me, it allowed me to use a bit of like my art history background to really kind of get in and do super specific prompts. And for me growing up, you know, one of my favorite photographers still is David LaChapelle, you know, and the way he's able to do set design, the way he's able to come up with these insane concepts. And I've always wanted to shoot that type of stuff. And I do here and there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with AI, I can push it even further, you know what I mean? And then even create pitch decks to...
So what comes to mind when you say push it further?
When I say push it further, you know...
what are you able to do with generative AI that makes you take a few more steps further than traditionally?
I mean, the roadblocks of like budget, set design, having a car flying in the air on fire.
Yeah,
you gotta pay for that.
So cool.
You know what I mean? So it's like my mind comes up with these ideas, but it's like, again, I don't always have like the funding or people wanting to invest in those type of things. So with generative art, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
That's those specific concepts, like the car, you know, in the air, and you know, these I can't remember, but there was like there's usually a single main character.
Yeah.
And they're usually in a weird dynamic position.
Yeah.
So what is your thought process with that?
So what I love about AI is like I could just create all type of characters, and for me it's like, you know, a lot of the work that I do as a photographer, I guess my niche lane that I'm in right now is, you know, my goal is to help elevate and shine light on marginalized body types.
Yeah.
So when you look at a lot of my AI work, it's mostly like, you know, people are plus size, you know, and to be able to come up with these ideas for like outfits and fashion to really showcase like we look good in all types of clothing, y'all just don't want to invest in it, y'all don't care about it. So it's like me using AI, I can come up with these crazy outfits. I can type up a prompt saying 300-pound African American man that resembles Biggie Smalls with a short afro, wearing a Tom Ford suit with a lace top with sequins in a 70s vintage hotel with a Lamborghini flying on fire in the air, shot outside of the hotel by a pool. You know what I mean? It's like, and shot in the style of Stephen Klein.
And does it always give you the results the first time, or
no,
are you constantly giving it sequences?
Sometimes I'll get really close, but then I'll kind of go in and like tweak the prompt. And then what's really dope about AI is, like, again, if you have a photography background, you can put the camera settings like shot at f10 at this angle with a fisheye lens. So it's like, I know all the cool shit I've ever waited. Yeah,
that's really dope. So you're able to give it that technical specification, and it already knows what you mean by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm able to reference other artists, but then putting my own tweak on it. I did a few portraits inspired by Pierre et Gauss, who they're a duo. One's a painter, one's a photographer, and when you look them up, you can see some of their iconic imagery. They shot everyone from Dita Von Teese to Madonna, David Bowie, and they were always some of my favorite artists, like, growing up. So taking portraits in the style of Pierre et Gauss, and then creating the background, creating the clothing, and it's not going to give you something that looks just like it, but it will scan, the artwork. Yeah, it's a good thing, because it's still, you're creating your own unique work. You know what I mean? But inspired in the style of, we're all inspired by shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're only as good as your reference.
You're only as good as your references, and I think with AI, I've really got to see how vast my references are.
That's awesome.
And I kind of just do whatever the hell I want, really.
I think those pieces really are coming to life. I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
I really do. And so you have a BFA in graphic design at the New York Institute of Tech?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me about your experience with that?
Yeah.
So you're originally from Brooklyn.
I'm from Brooklyn.
I'm originally from Brooklyn. I'm from Bed-Stuy.
Yes.
Your family's from Bed-Stuy.
Yes.
But right now I'm in
Clinton Hill now.
You're in Clinton Hill.
Yeah.
I'm in New Jersey now, so
yes, right across the water.
Forgive me. We're cousins.
We're cousins. We're cousins.
I had to get out of the city. When you have 4 kids, you just gotta get out.
To get out too, honestly.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the mountains, so.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
And I need that. It's very therapeutic for me.
I love being out in nature. I really do. It's very grounding. I'm very into that. Yeah.
Yeah. It helps my creative process as well. But tell me a little bit about your upbringing in art and design. I think because that plays a major part in your work today. It
does. So I'll go back to when I graduated high school. I had no clue what I wanted to do. Most of us don't. Like, I was 17 when I graduated high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I always loved visuals and I always loved music. So I originally went to NYIT for computer graphics, which was, at the time, I don't think that major doesn't even exist anymore, because I was in college from 2005 to 2009. So much has shifted since then. But back at that time, I started off with getting a degree in computer graphics, which was like animation. And as I got into it, I realized I don't want to do this, and I switched over to graphic design because I always had an appreciation for album art, for photography. And then being a graphic design major, I had to take a required photography course, and then that kind of unlocked things for me and made me realize that was my preferred medium of expression. And I've always had a camera around. Like, even as a kid, I used to have like a little purple film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles camera.
To you.
Yeah, you good? Yeah, I used to have a purple little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle camera, and when you would get the film developed, you would see a little turtle stamp in the corner of it.
I love that you said that, because I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was a kid.
Okay.
And Ninja Turtles, I used to record it on VHS.
Yes.
To put it on the screen. I would trace it, and
oh wow.
Yeah, I was into it, man. And then my brother and I, once I was like about 10, he started writing comic books, and I started like illustrating them, and I got into the whole night. So when you tell me about Ninja Turtles, man,
that was such a time. Yeah. That was such a time.
But then when you look at the cartoons now, and you're like, ugh,
I don't know what the hell's going on there. But yeah, going back to college, I had to take a required photography course. And I've always had a camera around. I always had a digital camera around. But then I started to have a purpose where I started to come up with concepts, started to come up with ideas. And then by the time I got to my last year of college, I didn't want to do graphic design anymore. I was cutting class to go shoot with agency models. Like I was like, I want to be here for this. And then that started my career as a fashion and music photographer.
Wow.
And then in doing that, I started shooting a bunch of musicians. I interned at Universal Music Group for a hot minute. And I got to shoot with some really cool people. Okay. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. I got to work with Eric Wong, who I think he's a senior VP now at Island. I was his intern for a while, and with that, I got to shoot with Diana Gordon, who's a really awesome singer-songwriter. She's produced for Beyonce, J-Lo, and she's just an awesome artist herself. And then from there, created a body positivity initiative called the Everyman Project.
Okay.
And I did that. I'm still doing that now. We just did a photo shoot last week. I'm doing so much.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of questions regarding that.
We could definitely get into that. But yeah.
So Teen Vogue, you
Teen Vogue.
And so what
GQ,
did you? Okay.
Well, yeah.
And was it your photography that was?
Yeah. Teen Vogue. I shot a rapper called Cupcake, and we got published in Teen Vogue. We also got published in paper as well. And then I've also got published in GQ, which GQ France.
That's cool.
And that was their first time showcasing 2 plus size men and 2 plus size men of color, and we had like a full 3-page.
Which is like a double whammy.
Double whammy, and I had a 3-page spread.
Wow. What year was
France.
that?
2021.
Okay, that was recent.
Yeah, it was recent. That was recent. It definitely.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool. I didn't even know that.
It was major, yeah. And that was always on my bucket list. Like I always wanted to shoot for GQ, but to be able to do it in the way that I did it, to be able to kind of, push boundaries and really kind of.
So what boundaries were you able to push?
I mean, honestly, GQ France was their first time doing a story centering plus size models and 2 plus size men of color. So being able to bring that diversity and to be the first to do that, that's major. And
yeah, that's groundbreaking.
Thank you. And they literally found me. They found some images I had posted. It was so crazy how that came together because...
You know what it is? Your work really does... you're not looking at it and saying that's a plus-sized model or character. You're just saying, wow, that's just visually beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have a way of doing that, actually. And that's awesome that I've known you for a while, and I never really considered that until... this discussion right now that's such a big emphasis. I mean, I've done some research on your purpose and your cause, and as I was going through that, I'm like, oh well, that makes sense. Then that's why all these imagery looks like this. And so yeah, it's interesting. It's that you're not thinking of that these people are plus size, that they are just beautiful characters in the story.
Really just showcasing the authenticity, just being free in your body. You know what I mean? And
did you always feel that way?
No, I had to work on myself. I had to figure some shit out. Yeah. And I started the Everyman Project back in 2017. I kind of had the idea in my head since 2016, and it took me a minute to want to do it because I knew me doing a body positivity initiative to really push for more diversity and inclusion in the fashion industry, I knew I would have to be at the forefront of it.
Brave to do that.
It was a lot. It was a lot of shit, and I'm still figuring out how I feel about my damn self while I'm doing it. And like, I was very blessed. Like, it blew up instantly, which shook the hell out of me. Like, we did our first photo shoot in April of 2017. June, we rolled it out. I had a publicist reach out to me. Yo, what you're doing is really dope. Do you need a publicist? And I was like, I mean, maybe, but like, I don't have the money. But they told me, we can do a barter system. I really believe in what you're doing. My publicist, Robbie. Shout out to Robbie. I love them. They're awesome. And, and a lot of times too, when you get a publicist, you don't know if people are going to care about what the fuck you're like promoting, but they
100%.
They literally put it out, and then within a week, I was on the 85th floor up there at World Trade at Mike.com.
Okay.
Interview with Mike.com.
All
Then
right.
a week after that, NBC, the interview with them. A month after that, People.
And so the Everyman Project, what would you consider, like, the mission is very clear.
Yeah.
What's the objective?
It's a visual conversation. It's a visual conversation. And it started off with, honestly, me being in the fashion industry and not seeing myself represented in anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I have the ability to create high quality fashion campaigns. Like, why don't I just do it and show that it can be done? And that's literally where it came from. And in doing that, I'm not going to take all the credit, but I am going to take some of the credit for a lot of the visuals that you see right now, especially when it comes to inclusion. I did an interview in 2017 with, you probably know who they are, WGSN. And I did an interview with them, and that went to all their clients, Adidas, LVMH, everybody, and me along with one of my models from the project. And then also, I think, what was the guy? He was the head of Boohoo Man. And all three of us, had a conversation about the importance of inclusion and really showcasing a wide range of body types, the importance of inclusive sizing in fashion, and what would happen if, companies don't take heed to that, and then literally the next year, body positivity movement kind of blew up.
Wow. So who else is part of this movement?
It's a lot. It's a lot of
Anyone you want to acknowledge?
I would say, I'll be honest, when I started Everyman, we were kind of the first of its kind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I really didn't have anyone like holding my hand through any of this. Like, I was literally figuring it the fuck out by myself as it was blowing up, and just interviews left and right, and really trying to stay on course with the mission, because for me, the press was great, but it wasn't about the press for me. It was really about the mission of
getting the message out. Yeah.
So the press was a vehicle, but I even had to be intentional about the type of interviews that I would sit down for. Some interviews were exploitative, in some cases, and I had a really great publicist that would keep me from doing those type of interviews. But that's
cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So,
how would they, like, what would be an example of exploitation of that?
I mean,
I'm just curious.
I mean, in terms of like, a lot of times I would sit down with people to talk about body positivity, and they would have no clue what the hell they were talking about.
So they would just ask you some lame-ass questions.
Lame-ass questions, and even the way the questions would be framed, I'll be like, oh, huh? Like, or
maybe condescending.
Or condescending in some cases, and then
like, is
also,
this really a problem?
But right, but then also too, there would be some, and I'm not gonna say names, but there would be certain media companies where they would kind of make it like they were sensationalizing it. You know what I mean? And taking it away from the purpose and the actual intent. So those type of interviews I would say no to. And now I'm even more selective now. I did an interview with Now This, and that went everywhere. It got like a million hits.
You're everywhere.
And it's still being cut up and dissected today. And I got a lot of hate from it. I got a lot of love,
What kind
but
of
a lot of hate. Oh man, I got a lot of hate from a lot of Trump supporters. Trump supporters. You're telling men they can be weak. You're telling men it's okay to cry. What type of shit is that?
Yo, let me tell you something. There's nothing weak about a man crying.
There you go. My favorite one that I heard was that Trump hired me to feminize the black man.
I think that's I've heard that quite a few times. I don't know why. That doesn't even make any sense.
I've heard that, and then even wild racist shit. We only have to go into, but like, yeah. I'll say one thing, like, so was they would hang me from a tree, just wild stuff. You know what I mean? It's like now.
But you know what?
Yeah.
That means you're making a difference.
Absolutely.
If you can get people to bring their ignorance out and showcase it, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not easy to break through the mold, and it's hard, and that friction, is going to create results.
And I feel that it has. I think, of course, there's still more work that the industry needs to do, but I definitely will say that Everyman Project, we definitely made a pretty considerable impact. I've seen my images referenced a ton of times over the past 7 to 8 years. I've gotten to do some cool stuff from being referenced. I worked for MeUndies for a while. I shot billboards
I'm wearing
for them.
MeUndies.
Yes. Well, I'm not gonna promote them too much because they need to hire me again. So they'll have to cut me a check.
Gotta bring you that bag.
Give me a bag again, MeUndies. I shot some billboards for them. I got to do a bunch of really cool stuff for them. I even had a model contract thrown in my lap at a point in time. I modeled an Adidas campaign. So I've gotten to do some stuff from the project. But it's been definitely a career / life-changing experience the last 7 years.
I think what's really interesting here is that you've been able to take all the things that you're passionate about. You're just interested in so many things. You like to do it yourself, and
very DIY. Very DIY.
And so to be able to, I don't know if you're familiar with Web 3.0 concept. It's essentially, the creator world. It's, creators are now able to monetize their skill sets. And I kind of feel like you're the epitome of that. And you're able to generate multiple revenue streams from the work that you do. How would you, those that are assumed to do the same, it's not easy to start something. What you're doing is not easy. It's very tough. But there are some people out there that maybe they don't have the same expectations as you do, but they still want to be able to start something, and they want to be able to use their skill sets. What would you say to them, I guess?
I would say just start. Just start. You know what I mean? No matter how small or big your idea is, just start. Whether it's starting off by mood boarding and then taking that mood board and going to start bringing those things to fruition and taking it bit by bit.
I love the mood boarding idea because
I'm big on mood boarding.
I'm big on human-centered design, and it's about, for me, the principles are about really ideating and looking at and visualizing what you want to achieve. And so, I use like a Miro.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a whiteboard app that you could just put images and websites and everything.
I might need to get that.
It's really cool. It's kind of like having a mood board physically, but obviously it's virtual.
It's called Miro?
It's called Miro.
I've definitely heard of
it. It used to be called Real Time Board. Actually, they're out in Amsterdam. I saw their headquarters the last time I was there. It's a really cool tool. I've been using it for years. It's great for design thinking. But anyway, to your point, visualizing, creating that theme and that you're aspiring to become is definitely one. So all right, but let's just get real for a second. What are the top revenue opportunities for creators right now, out the gate?
Wow, what are the top revenue opportunities for creators out the gate right now?
Yeah, because before, it was okay, you had SoundCloud and obviously YouTube and but what are the new channels that one can generate revenue?
I mean, TikTok. I mean, for now.
Yeah.
For now. I mean, I really hope they don't take TikTok down.
Oh no, you don't want them to take TikTok?
I mean, what are your thoughts?
I'm curious to hear your perspective.
I don't want them to take TikTok down because it is a way that people who are in certain marginalized groups, they are making money off of making really dope, cool content. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, TikTok's a great people don't really see it. Many people don't see it that way, but TikTok is a really good education platform.
Yeah.
I think that the way we disseminate content in that short, bite-sized way, honestly, it resonates with me. Mm-hmm. I just can't watch something that's more than 15 minutes long.
Me either. I don't have the attention span. Oh my God, I'm the same.
I'll watch a movie for 3 weeks.
And my friends get so mad at me. It's like, because they're like, why don't we watch a movie together? Well, and I'm like,
why don't we call it a mini series and then we can do this every Thursday night for the next several weeks, you know?
I was just I don't have the attention span anymore for that stuff. And it's so funny, I even tweeted today just about even music. Like, I literally put out a tweet this morning, like, I don't have the attention span to listen to an album that's more than like 12 to 14 songs unless it's 2 artists that I really love. I'll listen. If they do a 2-hour album, I'll listen to it. You know what I mean? But outside of those 2 people, I can't, unless there's like a really solid through line and the music is really good, the sequencing is good, but like we don't have the attention span for like long form content anymore. And I don't
know if it's honestly I don't have a short attention span.
Okay, I do.
I don't think that you do either.
Okay,
because and let me just hear my point of view. You're able to for hours create on something.
Okay, yeah.
And so just that in its own right demonstrates that you don't have a short attention span. Is that you perhaps don't have the time to sit down and watch a 4-hour, like these movies are too long, 3.5 hours. And some of these miniseries are so like, honestly, the 45-minute like episode could probably be like knocked down to like 20 minutes.
Right.
And some of these shows, especially these, I get hooked on these Korean like game shows.
Okay.
But the issue is that they repeat the same scene, and then that drives me nuts. So as a creator, I see what they're doing. Yeah. They're just trying to, from a behavioral
drag it out though.
They're trying to like make me want more, and for me, it just I don't have time for that.
Give it to me now.
I think the challenge right now is that there are really no TikTok competitors, and I think that's more of a threat. I don't think it's being owned by a Chinese organization from a CEO that he's not in China, right? He's like in Korea. So
I think
he's in Singapore.
Singapore, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's my rant.
I think
there needs to be more competition.
I think I could agree to that. I do think there needs to be more competition. I have more issues with Meta than I do with TikTok, especially with Meta, with like a lot of the shadow banning that happens, and even with like, even with like, again, bringing it back to body positivity. You know what I mean? It's like, I could post a picture shirtless and it would get taken down.
That's crazy.
You could post a picture shirtless and it wouldn't get taken down.
That's ridiculous.
You know what I mean? It's like, and it's like, that's one
bananas, right?
Exactly. Like, that's one of my major issues with
I didn't
Meta.
know that, by the way.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I've had like friends who've created like a really huge audience where they're able to make money off of what they were doing, like because even in the body positivity influencer space, like you have people, they make money, they work with different brands, you know what I mean? It's their livelihood, and to have your whole platform taken away because you posted a shirtless picture, you know what I mean?
That's just ridiculous.
It's wild, you know what I mean?
I think, on the flip side, I think that's ridiculous. By the way, I honestly, I'm a firm believer that I don't understand why we are afraid of, or we try to prevent, or we censor women to be nude. I think, with when I just personally,
I know I agree with you 1,000%.
Because I think that we are. What are we hiding from? Like we all are. Like
it's the human body. We all have one.
I think it's more addressed to people's fear or considerations, their warped considerations on whatever that might be.
Yeah, there's the element of fat phobia in the mix as well too. Because again, it's not the same for everybody. It's like if I can't be shirtless, we all shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Where it's like I'll see a dude with a six pack, and it's fine. Where I'll post something, I'll give a hidden nipple. This is community guidelines, and I'm like, are you serious? Or even if I share something else, I think,
that may be the AI system that's not properly fed, because it might just see a nipple, right, and see a crease. And think
it's a woman, of course, But then that's still back to the original issue that we talked about. Exactly, so
exactly. My consideration with Twitter is that's my consideration with Twitter is that when I get on Twitter, it's just too much.
Oh, you can see anything on Twitter.
I'm like, wait, I didn't know I didn't want to see that until I saw it.
Yes.
I typically I'm like okay with seeing whatever, but then there was this one moment I was like, I don't want to see that. I just don't.
I have that moment once a day when I go on Twitter. I was like, wow, I really could have gone without seeing this.
Yeah.
Like I really never had to see this a day in my life.
Right. It's just a little over the top, and so what's that? Where is that? Where do we set those limits, and where do we draw that line?
Yeah, which is why I think again, AI is an amazing tool, but that's why I also feel the human element is important, because I do feel like it's more nuanced, and certain things do need to be regulated. Like in my opinion, I think, and I was literally talking to, who was I talking to about this yesterday? It may have been either the day before. I was talking with one of my artists that I work with, and we were talking about AI, because she's doing a lot of really cool stuff on Midjourney as well. And
what's her name?
Her name is She's Ryan. She's a really awesome musician. She just I did her podcast on Tuesday to talk about my album, and we talked about a bunch of stuff too. But we had dinner afterwards, and we talked about AI. We talked about Midjourney, and I mentioned that there needs to be regulations on AI, in my opinion, because as amazing of a tool it is to create and do all types of cool shit, and to get to it fast, and to really manifest your ideas, I love AI. However, I do think, again, there's ways it can be used to be harmful. You know what I mean? You've seen some of the deep fakes out here. Someone could take my voice and say some wild shit, and try to say it's me who said that.
There was this young lady in New Jersey that, she got bullied. She was in high school, and they had a deep fake of her, doing some horrible things, and that's just another form of. I think there are some laws that are being written right now.
They have to work on that.
Address that. I agree. I think it's pretty crazy. I just want to go back to. I think it's so important to talk about generating multiple streams of revenue, because there is this gap. I understand that there are a lot of influence out there. There's a lot of influencers that have millions of followers and etc. But you don't need millions of followers, and you don't need to sell your soul to make a sustainable income.
You don't.
And I think it's what type of strategies are you applying right now to help generate revenue in fashion, photography, music? Just share some of that. I think
it's really kind of breaking down what it is that you're good at and offering multiple things. And for me right now,
and being okay with just selling.
You
can be authentic and sell.
You can be authentic and sell. For me, again, I'm a photographer, fashion music photographer. I shoot musicians, I shoot models,
and very successful at it.
Thank you. Outside of that, I'm not doing them yet, but I'm looking to start offering like workshops as well.
Oh,
another stream of income.
That's great.
I make music, but when I'm making music, I also sell merch. You know, I'm redoing my merch store now, but merch. And even in photography, it's like, okay, it's cool to do photo shoots, but it's like people do want to learn. So you can create like, you know, like smaller workshop videos people can download, give them different modules they can download, things that they can learn, creating resource materials people like to learn. So that's another stream of income as well. Education.
Share some of that knowledge.
Exactly.
That's what it sounds like.
Education, merch.
And so what do you like, knowing that, you know, Gen Z is inundated with lots of content, a high volume of content, you know, how do you typically differentiate yourself when you're selling that merch? How do you, or education, because, you know, there are tons of consultants out there that have, you know, content as well. How are you able to, you know, really get that passive income?
I think before I do anything, I ask myself, is there a need for this?
Yeah.
If there's not a need for it, I'm not going to do that. I tend to try to really be tapped into what is the need. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think of things that I would need as a photographer, you know, and I kind of survey, I ask around, and then I offer those things, you know, and it just really. I love
it. You ask, you actually ask people.
You have to ask. You have to ask, because how would you know if you don't ask, you know?
100%.
And again, like, you know, it's really just really being cognizant of your audience, knowing your audience, you know. And even right now, I'll be transparent, my audience has shifted. So now I'm learning my new audience
From what to what?
Just honestly, through COVID, a lot of things have kind of changed. You know what I mean? A lot of things have changed, and even in ways photographers get paid, it's kind of shifted a bit too. You know, like definitely with COVID, there's been a lot of the rise of the influencer. So what a lot of brands are doing now, instead of hiring me, they'll hire a model who might have a decent camera, and they're sending stuff to them to shoot their own content. So then you have to really rely on how good are your ideas.
Yeah.
Your ideas have to be so dope now.
And that's just being intelligent. Right?
Honestly,
that's exploring yourself, exploring what's out there, and then mixing it together, and then and then having an opinion about it.
Absolutely. And I honestly, right now, I think we talked about it briefly on the phone, but like the way technology has advanced, you no longer can hide behind being technically good. Right. You can be a technically great photographer. You can know how to shoot, expose properly, and all of that shit. But it's like, if your ideas are whack, nobody's going to care about what you're doing.
It's interesting because 100%. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you, and I believe it has to do with these waves.
Yeah.
You know, when in the 90s and the early 2000s. There was, and even in the 80s, there was this innovation in technology, and which pushed creatives to the side, because there was so much focus on the technology and the skills, and then we spent so much time learning. The internet boomed. We ended up learning and experimenting with the technology that has been always about the process, the technology, the method, the science. And now it's being flipped upside down because the technology has been democratized. And now you have to be an original idea person.
You can, like I started shooting in 2009. You know what I mean? It's like, back then camera phones weren't really all that. Now you can get an iPhone 15. I mean, even my little 12 right here, I've shot really amazing high quality music content for myself with this phone. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can pick up a phone and get good quality stuff, but are your ideas good enough? Are your ideas interesting enough? It's the same thing with AI.
So what's the recipe of an interesting idea?
I mean, what's the recipe of an interesting idea? That's a really good question. Again, asking yourself, is there a need for this? Has this been done before? If it's been done before, what am I bringing to it that's different? What am I bringing to it that's fresh? How am I challenging the norms? How am I pushing it?
And understanding what's been out there.
And understanding what's been out there. You have to ask those exploratory questions. Like, even with AI, it's like, again, the output is depending on how dope your prompts are, and no shade to anybody, but like people are generating like cartoon hot dogs, and that's fine if that's your thing, but it's like my thing is something else, so it's like, how original are your ideas? Like the fact that you took notice to the fact that I had a car flying in the air on fire, like that's an interesting idea, you know what I mean? It's like thinking outside the box.
Blockbuster like. It looks grandiose, it doesn't look like the Photoshop days are over,
It's over. But
you can't just apply. I'm from back in the days. I'm a little older than you. I'm from back in the days when we used alien filters,
Oh my God.
Back in Photoshop, like 4.0 and 3.0.
Oh yeah. See, I came. I came into Photoshop, maybe Photoshop 7, Photoshop CS when I first got into Photoshop. But now
I still know all the shortcuts.
I do too. I mean, but I still have to use it because I'm a photographer still, so I still use it, but I don't really use it as much now to design. Like my album cover was AI generated. My friend made me my album cover 2 months ago.
When are you releasing your album?
It's going to be out next week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm literally going home to upload it tonight.
So can you share that album cover?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me show it to you.
Yeah, please.
I'll show it to you. Oh, where is it? Let me open up my Instagram.
It's on your Instagram. I need to follow you on Instagram.
You have to follow my Instagram.
We've been Facebook friends, and
you gotta follow my IG. You gotta follow my AI IG as well. This is the album cover.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, the album.
You really got this blue going on.
The album's called 3 of Swords. So we generated like 3 like icicle swords, like they're ice samurai swords with the New York City background. So yeah.
I have an art Instagram.
Yes.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know. We have to connect on that.
Look.
Let me follow you. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, I used to do graffiti when I was a teenager.
Yo, these are. That's like a bonsai tree.
Yeah, but it's
that's
but it's a light bulb.
Oh, I see the.
It's fresh, right?
That's smart. Oh, that's genius.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Oh yeah, we go exchange all information before I leave here today.
Yeah, that's cool. But this album cover is really awesome.
This is the cover, and then I've just been, again, I do a lot of my own videos, like this is me rapping. So it's like I do my graphics and shit. It's a little, I really like to have fun with visuals, and I think that's why AI appealed to me so much. And also to honestly, shout out to my mom, but she was like, I'll be honest, last year work was a little bit slow. Again, with the writer's strike, it was a trickle down effect on all of us. A lot of my clients are actors,
Got it.
A good deal of them are. And then outside of that though too, it's like magazine shoots, you know what I mean? Relying on actors, you know what I mean? There were even things that relied on writers. So if there weren't shoots, so it was a trickle down effect on everybody. So work was slow for a second. And my mom was like, you should learn AI. And my mom's in her 70s.
Really?
My mom's in her 70s. Like, you need to get on this AI shit. Like, you need to get on this AI shit. It's coming in. You can't be afraid of it. You need to learn it. Because my mom, she's always been about the future.
Yeah.
She loves Star Trek and all of the sci-fi stuff.
I genuinely love your work.
Thank you.
This AI combination is really working.
I'm learning now how to do character reference as well. So I'm getting into that now. I want to learn Sora. Like, I really want to learn Sora.
So you want to get into video, audio,
because like I do
generative type of AI.
Yeah, especially now, like I do music, so it's like having that element in my back pocket to bring all that together. Marrying the music with the visuals. I work for other artists too, so it's like I'm now going to be offering. I do creative direction for myself for other artists, so now the AI portion, again, another stream of income. The AI portion is something that I'm going to be offering soon as my services. You know, and
yeah,
I've already had a few people ask me.
You know, it's I mean, look at Will.i.am. I mean, he is, you know, a creative director. He's a musician. He's an artist. Will Ferrell. You know, he's creative. He's a creative director. Isn't he the creative director for Louis Vuitton or some shit like that?
Oh, Pharrell Williams.
Sorry, Pharrell Williams.
Yep. Yeah, Pharrell is
Will
on.
Ferrell.
He is on it.
Will Ferrell.
I thought it was about the actor.
Imagine Will Ferrell is. I always do that. I always say things like backwards.
When you say Louis Vuitton, I was like, oh, you talking about Pharrell Williams?
Yeah, Pharrell Williams. Yeah, he is the creative director for Louis Vuitton, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
he's doing a dope job. I think so. I know some people have their opinions, but everybody has them. I think he's doing a cool job with Louis Vuitton. But I mean, that's something I would like to see. You know, like I was talking to my friend the other day, like how dope would it be to use AI to pitch a concept to a fashion brand? You know what I mean? And then like a fashion brand that has the budget to recreate that stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean, we at DeVito Verde, we use generative AI to build our storyboards, to build our video prototypes, to, you know, it's definitely an extension to, you know, what we do creatively. I mean, it just I mean, that's not very different than manually taking a bunch of videos and then compiling it together to sell an idea.
Yeah, and I think too what I want to
get to stock photos and videos.
Exactly, and I think what I want to lean into now, and I've been talking to a few of my model friends, I want to create the backdrops in AI, and then doing the actual photo shoot, because I know enough to mimic the lighting in studio, and then putting them in so you have that real element, but in the background it's like, how the f did you find this? Where did you shoot at? I'm like, I generated it. So like now that's where that's my next step in taking.
So what tools would you recommend someone such as yourself that's creative? And I mean, there are a lot of, especially musicians, they're really into like technical tools. Like what technology or tools?
I mean, for musicians, I mean, if they want to get into AI, I mean, learn Midjourney. I mean, learn Midjourney. And then also now, I don't know if you know, but Photoshop has AI built into it now.
I mean, they've had it for a while.
They've had it, I mean, I'm just finding it out. I think even in using that to like kind of cut out my subjects and putting them into the scene.
I mean, you know, and I still use the pen tool.
I still do too. But there's so many other things that's better now. But
you know, it's like
same. It's old school. You know what I mean?
It's just I can do it so quickly. You know,
the pencil was definitely a struggle for me in college, but as I got more into photography, I was able to master it. But
back in like 2002, 2003, I was working at a firm and at a digital firm. And we were doing e-learning courses for AOL, AutoNation, and AT&T.
Yeah, interesting how this shit has progressed so much.
And so I used to do illustrations, take photos, and I used to do the illustration version of that, the vector version, manually.
The vector illustrations, that was a time.
Yeah, so
we learned that in college. Okay, photo.
I would pump them out. You know, this is just like asset after asset after asset.
I love doing them when I was in college. I would love doing vector illustrations.
It so much.
It was so much fun.
For it.
It's just taking away the fun of it. Like I mean,
that's like talking to dudes and saying like, well, masking. I used to take the X-Acto knife and create.
And see, I grew up. Like I'm a little younger than you, so I grew up right in the middle of that. So like half of my life is X-Acto blade, half of it was all Photoshop.
I still use an X-Acto blade to sharpen my pencils. My kids hate it.
I use it. I still use it now because I do collage stuff sometimes for album covers.
I mean, so it's like that precision.
You can get in there and like really like do a lot of really cool shit because I mean one of my favorite photographers is Jean-Paul Gaultier, and he was Grace Jones' photographer. So when you see those photos of her with like this super long neck, like that's him taking the photo he shot and then printing like 20 copies and using those little like we'll cut the neck and use the photos to make the neck longer and then make it look like her neck is like 50
Wow.
feet long. But I mean, now you don't have to do it
No,
that
you
way
don't have to do
anymore.
that.
But this is like the 80s.
But on some real talk, these
Yeah.
days, I've been creating a lot of frames. So I have a workshop, wood shop, and then I actually, because my kids like to paint too, we do painting sessions together.
I love that.
And I got the mat cutter, so I can create mat frames any size. And
Oh my God.
yeah, like borders and just wood, beautiful frames, like gallery frames. I love doing it. Yeah.
I love that. That's so dope.
Just to get your hands.
Yeah, I like that. I like being able to use my hands too.
Yeah,
Like last year I did I did two of my single covers last year. I did collage work. I got my little X-Acto blade and that's fun, like doing scanner collages. Like that's something that still connects me to like my childhood, because that's what I was doing, like really cool scanner collages, and that stuff is still fun to make, and it's original, you know what I mean? So it's like, again, I still
have a black book. I have a black book. I do my sketches. I draw all the time in it, and I even, like, whenever I do a painting at a certain size, I would cut it up and then put it in my black book, and just, which is kind of like a collage book,
Absolutely.
essentially.
And that's why, perfect example, like, I really feel like AI will never replace the human element. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are afraid of AI. And it's like, I understand why, but it's like, again, how good are your ideas?
Yeah.
You should be afraid if your ideas are crap. Like, just be honest. You know what I mean?
But I think those that are afraid of using generative AI or as a creative person, they probably were afraid originally getting into whatever skill set they are really good at now.
Yeah.
So like there is that personification where like the barrier is so high to try something new because it's such a struggle. They're not into the journey or the process of creating. But if you're someone such as yourself that you have this sense of freedom in that messiness, it's a lot easier. And so what would you, instead of just, I know you said just do it, but what just think about, maybe there were some things that you want to do but you haven't done. And so what kind of advice would you give yourself, if you needed to push forward?
My favorite advice to tell people is to do it, and even if you're scared, do it scared. You know what I mean? Because it's like, your first attempt at anything is not going to be perfect. Like, perfect example, I'm putting out my first solo album next week, and it's like, I'm sure and I'm just uploading it because I've been trying to perfect it. Usually, you should upload your album a month out, but it's the digital age. Like, you can upload your stuff and it'll be up on the streaming platforms in 24 hours, But, I'm a perfectionist, but I'll be honest, in having to do the Everyman Project and now doing music, being in the forefront, because when I first started doing music, I was just making beats. Now I'm like the artist, I'm rapping, I'm singing, I'm in the forefront, you know what I mean? And I've done a lot of these things scared. I still do a lot of things scared. And I know that in taking that leap of faith in doing it, it'll get less scary the more and more that I do it, and I'll become more and more comfortable in the more and more that I do it. So I always tell people, do it scared, and don't feel that your first attempt of it has to be perfect. It's gonna be messy, but eventually you're gonna perfect it. Eventually you're gonna get better at it, and just do it.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna do it scared, don't let being scared keep you from doing it. Do it scared. Do it terrified.
Yeah.
Do it.
It reminds me of I'm into motorcycles these days. And
I think I saw. I think I saw you on a motorcycle. Yes.
And I never trusted myself because my issue is that when I was younger is being overly confident. And making mistakes from that, and so I never really trusted myself. But now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, it's never, listen, you got to do it right now. You have to do it. And I love what you're saying because it reminds me every time I get on my bike, I'm afraid. And I do it, and the more I ride, the more I can control that fear.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually it will. You know, it's about balancing that fear and acknowledging it, but just setting it aside, and then just getting it done. You know, and so I think that's actually really awesome advice.
Thank you. It's gotten me through. You know, and I think, I mean, going to college really gave me tough skin. You know, and I think going to art school gave me tough skin because I had to deal with having my work dissected, ripped apart, criticized, you know, criticized left and right. And I think that gave me the level of discernment into how to take critique. You know what I mean? Take from it what resonates with you and leave the rest, is what I always say. And I think in having that experience, I'm less afraid to put things out. I think my anxiety comes after it's out. It's more like, oh shit, I did it. It's out. They're gonna hate it.
Yeah, like,
and
I'd
rather have the anxiety after it's 100%. Out. I'd rather have it after it's out.
I think you know, there is this getting used to that anxiety and then kind of chasing it, because it kind of feels like you're alive. It's invigorating.
It does. Like I was talking to my
Otherwise, it's fucking boring.
It's boring. Like life can be boring. Like I was talking to my my writing partner, Yanni Blue, earlier today, and we were talking about you know, what we're doing right now. You know, we're working on some projects for sync and licensing, and like this is a new space for us. You know, and it's like I'm finding myself, I'm using parts of my brain that I have not had to use in a while, and I'm learning so much. And even in learning and doing something new, like it is a little scary sometimes, because like, am I gonna F it up? Is this gonna happen? Is this gonna go right? Am I gonna do it wrong? But there's like you said, there's an excitement that we do just as creatives. You know, I think that is what keeps us going.
I think we're blessed to grow up in, you know, in New York City. People just don't understand.
They don't.
The value. No, it can be wrong. I don't want to stay here.
No, me either. I'm ready to go west.
I take the train down.
I'm ready to go to the West Coast.
I'm a big fan of the Adirondack region. So, you know, the older I get, the more north I want to go. I know so many people on the west side. So many people.
I'm ready to go west. But you know what though? Ideally, I want to be bi-coastal. Because I'm an only child. And then my mom and dad is here. They're older. You know what I mean? So it's like me living in LA full time is not the most realistic thing right now. But which is why I've been mostly bi-coastal in the past like 6 years, just back and forth. You know. But I do love LA because there's a lot of, not just LA. I do love California. Because just even scenery wise, there's so much to shoot. Like you can be on the desert, and then you could be in the mountains, and you can be on the beach. You know, and for me, growing up here, you know, shooting outside.
We just don't have the desert here.
There's no desert, and there's a lot of amazing things you can shoot here in New York. But I've been doing it for 15 years. I've done it here. I'm ready to go somewhere else.
Go explore.
Yeah.
Go explore.
I'm ready.
So I know you by Tariq.
Yes.
Your artist name is
Amir. Yeah. Amir. Yes. It's music.
You know, as we conclude here, I'd like for you to kind of just tell me a little bit about Amir. Who is this Amir?
Right. Okay. So Amir is my middle name, and I always told myself if I do music, I would use like Amir as my artist name. I always loved the name.
That's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
I wish I had a middle name.
Really?
I'm just Anthony Citron.
You know, my mom wanted to name me Amir, and my dad wanted to name me Tariq, and he won that. But I always told myself if I do music, I'm gonna become famous.
Tariq reminds me of when I was in junior high school. There was this kid named Tyrone. You know, and I hated him because I wanted his name so badly.
Yeah, you know?
It's just that cool name, like.
But you know, it's so funny. But here's the reverse of it. I grew up not liking my name because people would butcher it. People would call me Tarek, Ty, all types of just dumb crap. And I'm like, oh my God, I wanted a name like an Anthony, or like I wanted like a different name, because people kept effing up my name so much, but you Google Tariq Carroll, you ain't gonna find nobody else. It's me.
Let me tell you something. There's Anthony, Antoine, Anthony, Anthony.
Oh, they still figure a way to mess up. Damn, man, that's sad. And people just love to butcher names, and I'm guessing. But
like my last name is Cintron, but you know, I say Cintron.
Yeah.
But most people, like a lot of people, say Cintron, and I hate
Cintron, like Patron.
Yeah.
Cintron.
Yeah, hey, Cintron.
If you ever were to make a alcohol brand, you could call it Cintron.
Yeah. But there's Citron.
Yeah, okay.
Amir, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I really enjoyed. You know, I love talking about creativity. And
me too.
You really allowed me to just tap into, you know, your creative mind, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. This was a fun interview. I thoroughly enjoyed myself today.